Welcome to Facts Radio, your journey through history begins here. In this episode, we explore Roman leaders, power, conquest, and legacy, a saga of ambition, brilliance, madness, and the human thirst for dominion. From the streets of Rome to distant battlefields, from the marble palaces of emperors to the clash of armies that shaped continents, these are the leaders whose decisions echoed through time. Their triumphs, their betrayals, and their obsessions reveal not only the grandeur of Rome but the fragility of power itself. Chapter 1: Hannibal. Hannibal, 247 to 183 BC, the Carthaginian general, may not have been a Roman, but his story is inseparable from the history of Rome itself. Born into a family of military distinction, Hannibal swore vengeance against Rome from an early age, nurturing a mind that would challenge the mightiest empire of the ancient world. Imagine the young Hannibal, traversing the hills of Carthage, plotting a strategy that would confound Rome for decades, carrying with him an unyielding resolve. His most famous campaign, the crossing of the Alps in 218 BC, remains one of the greatest feats of military daring. Elephants, cavalry, and infantry battled ice, altitude, and treacherous terrain, yet Hannibal emerged in the Italian plains with an army ready to strike. Romans looked on in horror and disbelief as their homeland faced a master tactician who seemed almost unstoppable. His victories at Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and Cannae showcased not just skill, but an understanding of psychological warfare that would echo for centuries. Hannibal's genius was matched by his audacity. He manipulated alliances, inspired loyalty among his troops, and outmaneuvered superior forces repeatedly. Yet the same brilliance that won battles also met limits. Rome's resilience, logistical genius, and relentless pursuit eventually contained him. Imagine the tension as Hannibal's army, battered but undefeated, faced the reality that strategy alone could not overcome the inexhaustible resources of the Roman state. Despite eventual defeat, Hannibal's impact on Rome was profound. The Roman military learned from him, adapting tactics, discipline, and strategy in ways that would secure the empire's dominance for centuries. Hannibal himself fled into exile, a figure of both admiration and fear, whose name inspired awe and dread alike. Hannibal's campaigns reshaped the psyche of Rome itself. Citizens lived in constant anxiety, fortifying towns and training militias, aware that a brilliant enemy could appear at any river or mountain pass. The fear and awe he inspired extended beyond battles. Hannibal became a legend even among Romans, a symbol of both mortal peril and military brilliance. Imagine Rome, anxious and vigilant, as news arrived of his next audacious maneuver across lands thought impenetrable. Hannibal's story reminds us that leadership is not solely defined by victory, but by vision, courage, and the capacity to challenge the impossible. In the shadow of Rome's might, he carved a legacy of ingenuity and daring, proving that one man's resolve can shape the course of history. Chapter 2: Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar stands as one of history's most iconic figures, a man whose ambition burned brighter than the Roman sun itself. Born in 100 BC into a patrician family with a turbulent past, Caesar's early life was steeped in politics, intrigue, and the whispers of power. From the moment he stepped into the Senate, it was clear that his intellect and charisma would propel him beyond the ordinary. Imagine the tension as the young Caesar navigated Rome's labyrinthine politics, balancing alliances with cunning precision. As a general, his campaigns in Gaul were nothing short of legendary. He crossed rivers, scaled fortifications, and outmaneuvered enemies with a strategic mind that seemed almost prophetic. The Roman legions under his command moved with a precision and loyalty that few commanders could ever hope to achieve. It's hard to believe, but every victory he won carried both glory and danger, victories that would eventually make him a threat in the eyes of the Senate. The moment that would define Caesar's audacious nature was the crossing of the Rubicon in 49 BC. With a single step, he defied the authority of the Senate and declared civil war. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon" would echo through the centuries as a symbol of irreversible decisions. The city of Rome itself became a chessboard for Caesar's ambition, with each move calculated to topple enemies and consolidate power. Citizens whispered, soldiers watched, and the Republic trembled. Yet Caesar was not only a man of war. He was a reformer, an orator, and a visionary. He reshaped the calendar, restructured debt laws, and sought to bridge the divide between the aristocracy and the common people. Even as he wielded unmatched authority, he understood the delicate balance between fear and respect. Imagine the corridors of power, the eyes upon him, the whispered plots, a world where one misstep could mean the difference between immortality and assassination. Caesar's charisma was unmatched. He could charm the people, win over soldiers, and silence critics with a sharp wit. The triumphs he celebrated in Rome were spectacles of unrivaled grandeur, with parades that displayed the spoils of conquest and the might of Rome itself. But with every cheer from the crowd, danger grew quietly in the shadows. Friends he trusted plotted in secret, envying the light he cast over the Republic. And then, on the Ides of March, 44 BC, the unthinkable happened. Caesar fell victim to betrayal, stabbed by senators who once called him friend. Imagine the shock of the Roman Forum, the disbelief, the echoing footsteps of conspirators fleeing the scene. Yet even in death, Caesar's legacy burned brightly. His life and demise set the stage for the end of the Roman Republic and the dawn of an empire that would carry his spirit forward. Caesar's political skill extended far beyond the battlefield. He knew the pulse of the Roman people, using public games, speeches, and spectacle to cultivate loyalty and sway opinion. Senators who underestimated his populist appeal quickly learned that influence in Rome required more than lineage or tradition, it demanded vision and performance. Imagine the forum crowded with citizens, hanging on every word, every gesture, a city enthralled by the magnetic force of one man's ambition. Caesar's story is a testament to the double-edged nature of power. Ambition drives greatness, yet it also summons danger. He was a man who reshaped Rome and, in doing so, reshaped history itself. As we reflect on his life, we are reminded that the path of leadership is both dazzling and treacherous, and that the choices of one man can alter the fate of nations. Chapter 3: Augustus. Following the tumultuous years of Caesar's rise and fall, Rome found its next architect of destiny in Gaius Octavius, known to history as Augustus. Born in 63 BC, he was Caesar's adopted heir, a young man whose intellect and patience would outmatch the fiery ambition of his predecessors. Rome had endured civil war, betrayal, and unrest, and the empire seemed fragile. Augustus stepped into this chaos not with brute force alone, but with a subtle mastery of strategy, propaganda, and vision. He skillfully maneuvered against rivals such as Mark Antony and Cleopatra, turning military victories into political triumphs. Every decision, from alliances to speeches, was calculated to cement his authority without provoking further civil war. Imagine the tension as the Senate watched this quiet but formidable figure rise, balancing their ancient traditions with the emerging reality of imperial power. Augustus mastered the art of appearing as Rome's humble servant while orchestrating its transformation into a permanent empire. His reforms were sweeping. Augustus reorganized the army, established a network of roads, and created systems of taxation and governance that stabilized the empire. Public works flourished, temples were rebuilt, and the city itself became a symbol of enduring Roman grandeur. Citizens marveled at aqueducts carrying fresh water and monuments celebrating Rome's legacy. Under Augustus, the empire not only survived, it thrived, entering the era known as the Pax Romana. Yet Augustus' path was not free of personal sacrifice or moral complexity. He navigated the treacherous waters of family politics, executing rivals when necessary, and skillfully masking the harshness of his rule with the rhetoric of duty and service. Imagine the private struggles, the sleepless nights, the weight of power pressing on a man who understood that the stability of Rome rested upon his choices. He was both visionary and strategist, embodying the duality of leadership, power tempered with prudence. Augustus' reign also marked a shift in the perception of leadership. He combined the traditional republican ideals with the practicalities of autocracy, demonstrating that authority could be wielded with subtlety and sophistication. Rome's citizens began to see him not just as a ruler but as the embodiment of their civilization itself. Every decree, every reform, every military campaign reinforced the narrative of a leader chosen by fate to guide the empire into a new age. By the end of his life in 14 AD, Augustus had transformed Rome from a city of senators and tribunes into the heart of a sprawling empire. His legacy endured through monuments, laws, and the structure of governance that would persist for centuries. Imagine the city of Rome, shining under his vision, a testament to the enduring power of strategy, patience, and unwavering ambition. Augustus had not merely survived the chaos, he had mastered it. Augustus' mastery of symbolism reinforced his authority in subtle yet powerful ways. Coins bore his likeness, public monuments celebrated his victories, and festivals honored Rome's history while subtly connecting it to his leadership. Every visual cue reinforced a narrative. The empire thrived because he guided it. Imagine walking through Rome at the height of his power, every statue and inscription whispering the story of Augustus' vision, blending civic pride with personal legitimacy. In reflecting on Augustus, we see the power of subtlety, of intellect guiding action, and of patience in the pursuit of destiny. He was a leader who understood that true strength lies not only in conquest but in the careful orchestration of loyalty, policy, and vision, a masterclass in the art of empire. Chapter 4: Caligula. After Augustus' long and stabilizing reign, the empire experienced one of its most bizarre and infamous rulers, Caligula, 37 to 41 AD. Known for his erratic behavior, cruelty, and extravagance, Caligula's reign embodies the extremes of human ambition and madness. From the moment he ascended the throne, the people of Rome witnessed a leader whose actions oscillated between brilliance and shocking instability. Stories of Caligula's excess are legendary. He appointed his horse to political office, staged elaborate games and spectacles, and demanded adoration from all who met him. Yet beneath the spectacle lay calculated cruelty, executions, intimidation, and a reign of fear that kept even his closest advisors in check. Imagine walking through the imperial palace, unsure whether laughter or terror waited around each corner. The city itself became both stage and prisoner to his whims. Caligula's military ambitions were equally theatrical. Campaigns were sometimes staged for spectacle rather than strategic value, and yet they demonstrated his desire to assert dominance and impress the Roman people. Soldiers and citizens alike were caught in the tension between admiration and fear, witnessing feats that seemed impossible while enduring acts of incomprehensible brutality. Despite, or perhaps because of, his notoriety, Caligula's reign left an indelible mark on Rome. Temples were adorned, games were staged, and the idea of the emperor as both divine and absolute was reinforced. But the shadow of fear and unpredictability hung over the empire, a reminder that leadership unchecked by reason can spiral into chaos. The psychological impact of Caligula's rule extended far beyond the palace walls. Senators, generals, and citizens lived in uncertainty, unsure which whims would turn deadly next. His unpredictability became a tool of power, keeping adversaries cautious and the populace unsettled. Imagine a city where even the simplest civic action could provoke imperial wrath, where fear and admiration intertwined, shaping Rome's collective consciousness in real time. Ultimately, Caligula's life was cut short by assassination in 41 AD, a stark testament to the dangers of tyranny. His story challenges us to consider the fragile line between genius and madness, and how power, when untethered from responsibility, can devour both ruler and ruled alike. In the annals of Roman history, Caligula remains a figure of fascination, a symbol of the extremes of ambition, spectacle, and human folly. Chapter 5: Nero. 10 years after Caligula's assassination, Nero ascended the throne as a teenager, inheriting a world already accustomed to the grandeur and expectations of imperial Rome. In stark contrast to Augustus' measured rule, Nero's story is one of excess, spectacle, and the dark side of absolute power. Rome under Nero was a city of extremes. Palaces gleamed with marble, yet fires consumed neighborhoods, performances entertained the elite, while citizens whispered in fear. Imagine the tension as Nero performed on stage, oblivious to the growing unrest outside the theater walls. Every decree he issued, every spectacle he orchestrated, became both a statement of power and a reflection of his ego. The young emperor's fascination with music and drama often overshadowed the responsibilities of governance, leading to scandal and unrest. The Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD remains one of the most infamous events of his reign. While parts of the city burned, Nero allegedly played his lyre, a story that would echo through history as emblematic of decadence and detachment. He rebuilt Rome with grand visions, creating new palaces and avenues, yet the cost in suffering and wealth was immense. Citizens and senators alike began to question the emperor's priorities, and whispers of conspiracy grew louder. Nero's relationships were as turbulent as his reign. He maneuvered against rivals, executed those close to him, and surrounded himself with advisors who often feared his unpredictable temper. It's hard to believe, but the corridors of power in Rome under Nero were filled with danger, intrigue, and betrayal at every turn. His notorious cruelty, combined with a flair for the theatrical, created a reign that fascinated and horrified in equal measure. Despite the chaos, Nero's reign also left cultural marks. He patronized the arts, expanded entertainment, and transformed Rome into a stage where imperial identity intertwined with spectacle. Yet his failures in leadership, coupled with the alienation of the Senate and populace, led to revolts and ultimately his downfall. Facing rebellion, Nero chose to end his life in 68 AD, leaving behind a city and an empire both awed and scarred by his rule. Despite the chaos, Nero had a magnetic cultural influence. Poets, artists, and musicians found favor under his patronage, and Rome itself became a stage for experimentation and expression. Yet this cultural flourish was inseparable from his ego, blending brilliance with danger. Imagine the contrast, a city ablaze with creativity and spectacle, while shadows of political intrigue and rebellion loomed over every corner. Nero's story is a cautionary tale. Genius and cruelty often coexist, and unchecked power can descend into spectacle and terror. As we reflect on his life, we are reminded that the allure of absolute authority can blind even the most gifted individuals, and that the weight of empire is unforgiving to those who wield it for vanity rather than duty. Chapter 6: Trajan. Trajan, 98 to 117 AD, is remembered as one of Rome's greatest emperors, a leader whose vision extended far beyond the city's walls. Born in Italica, in the Roman province of Hispania, he rose through the military ranks to become a general of unparalleled skill and, eventually, emperor. Trajan's reign was defined by conquest, public works, and the embodiment of civic duty. Imagine the anticipation as his legions marched, banners snapping in the wind, crossing rivers and mountains to expand the empire to its greatest territorial extent. His military campaigns in Dacia stand as a testament to his strategic brilliance. The conquest of the Dacian kingdom not only brought Rome immense wealth through gold mines but also cemented his reputation as a warrior emperor. Soldiers admired his courage and commitment, citizens celebrated his triumphs with monumental arches and public spectacles. Yet it was not mere conquest that defined Trajan, it was the vision of an empire that could flourish through both strength and stability. Beyond the battlefield, Trajan undertook ambitious building projects that transformed the city of Rome itself. Roads, bridges, aqueducts, and markets reshaped the urban landscape, reflecting the power and prosperity of the empire. The famous Trajan's Forum and Trajan's Column celebrated his victories, narrating in stone the story of campaigns and the heroism of his troops. Citizens walking these streets would have felt the grandeur of their civilization in every detail, from marble statues to intricate mosaics. Trajan's administration was marked by fairness and foresight. He respected the Senate while consolidating imperial power, ensuring a balance that maintained stability. Taxes were reformed, provincial governance strengthened, and the welfare of the people prioritized. Imagine the tension between ambition and responsibility as he navigated the vast machinery of an empire that stretched from the Atlantic to the Euphrates. Every decision shaped not only the present but the future of Rome. His personal character further endeared him to the populace. Known for his humility, accessibility, and devotion to duty, Trajan contrasted sharply with emperors obsessed with spectacle or self-indulgence. He demonstrated that leadership could be both firm and just, inspiring loyalty and admiration across the empire. Soldiers, citizens, and even foreign dignitaries recognized a man who wielded power with a rare combination of courage and wisdom. Trajan's legacy endured long after his death in 117 AD. The empire had reached its zenith under his command, leaving a blueprint for governance, military strategy, and civic planning that would influence generations. He showed that an emperor could be both conqueror and caretaker, demonstrating that greatness lies not only in expanding borders but in enriching lives. Trajan's vision for Rome extended to diplomacy as well as conquest. He negotiated with client kings, respected local traditions, and fostered alliances that strengthened imperial cohesion. His understanding that stability required both military might and political tact allowed the empire to reach unprecedented heights. Imagine the bustling provinces, each seeing Rome as protector and benefactor, guided by a ruler whose ambition was tempered by foresight. In reflecting on Trajan, we see the ideal of the emperor as both a hero and a servant, a man whose ambition was matched by his dedication to the empire and whose victories extended beyond the battlefield into the hearts of the people. Rome, under Trajan, was not merely powerful, it was immortal in its vision and in the memory of those who lived within its walls. Chapter 7. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, 161 to 180 AD, occupies a rare space in history, emperor and philosopher, ruler and sage. Born into a noble family in Rome, he was educated in the Stoic tradition, learning the discipline of reason, self-control, and reflection. Ascending to the throne during a period of military threat and internal strife, he faced challenges that would have broken lesser men. Yet Marcus approached leadership with calm, measured judgment, writing reflections in his meditations that continue to inspire to this day. Imagine the tension of life on campaign, with legions stretched across hostile territories, the constant hum of conflict pressing against the empire's borders. Marcus did not flee into luxury or indulgence, he traveled with his soldiers, shared their hardships, and led with personal example. His stoicism shaped not only his philosophy but his administration, emphasizing duty over desire and the greater good over personal gain. Despite his contemplative nature, Marcus was an effective and decisive leader. He defended the empire against Germanic tribes and Parthians, maintaining borders that were constantly under threat. Each decision was a careful calculation, balancing military necessity with the welfare of citizens and soldiers alike. Imagine the weight of responsibility pressing upon him as he dictated strategy, managed logistics, and navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics. Marcus Aurelius' reign was also marked by legal and social reform. He sought justice for the oppressed, fairness in governance, and a sense of moral responsibility in leadership. The emperor was as much a teacher as a ruler, demonstrating that the strength of Rome lay not solely in legions or walls, but in the principles that guided its people. Citizens may have marveled at his intellect, but they also respected his humility, endurance, and commitment to duty. His personal writings, meditations, reveal a man wrestling with the tension between power and virtue, fame and humility. It's hard to believe, but here was a leader who, amidst wars and plague, contemplated the fleeting nature of life, the inevitability of death, and the responsibility of those who hold authority. His reflections serve as a bridge between the human and the imperial, reminding us that even emperors are bound by the same existential truths as their subjects. Even in the midst of war and plague, Marcus Aurelius remained a student of humanity. He reflected on the virtues and vices of men, seeking to govern not only with strategy but with moral insight. His stoicism became a living guide, influencing how he judged generals, citizens, and even himself. Imagine the emperor in a tent at dusk, quill in hand, contemplating the nature of power, mortality, and duty as the empire continued to face relentless challenges. Marcus Aurelius' legacy is not measured in conquests or monuments alone, but in the enduring example of leadership guided by wisdom, integrity, and reason. He demonstrates that true greatness lies in mastering oneself while guiding others, balancing authority with compassion, and leaving the empire stronger not merely in territory, but in spirit. Chapter 8. Constantine the Great. The reign of Constantine the Great, 306 to 337 AD, marks a transformative chapter in Roman history, bridging the classical empire with the Christian age. Born in Naissus, a province far from Rome, Constantine's early life was shaped by political intrigue, military campaigns, and familial rivalry. He rose through the ranks with tactical brilliance, ultimately seizing power as a unifier in a fractured empire. Imagine the tension as Rome, weary from internal strife and external threats, awaited the emergence of a leader who would redefine its destiny. Constantine's most enduring act was his embrace of Christianity. In 313 AD, the Edict of Milan granted religious tolerance, reshaping the spiritual landscape of the empire. Imagine the shockwaves through Rome and the provinces, centuries of pagan tradition giving way to a new faith, sanctioned and protected by imperial authority. Constantine's vision extended beyond mere tolerance. He actively promoted the Christian church, commissioning basilicas and supporting clergy, intertwining faith with the enduring identity of Rome. His military genius was equally remarkable. Constantine defeated rivals with careful strategy and decisive action, culminating in the pivotal Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD. According to legend, a vision before battle inspired him to fight under the Christian symbol, blending divine providence with military ambition. Soldiers witnessed their leader's resolve, citizens marveled at the turning of fortune, and the empire was forever altered by a single campaign. Constantine also founded Constantinople, a city that would become the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire and a symbol of continuity after the fall of the West. This ambitious project reflected his understanding of empire as both political and symbolic, a metropolis representing strength, faith, and endurance. Trade, culture, and religion would converge there, shaping the future of Europe and the Near East. Yet Constantine's reign was not without controversy. He engaged in political purges, eliminated rivals, and wielded power with calculated ruthlessness. It's hard to believe, but the man who championed tolerance in religion also ruled with the decisive, often brutal, authority necessary to unify a fractured empire. His life embodies the duality of leadership, visionary yet pragmatic, spiritual yet political, ambitious yet disciplined. Constantine's influence also reshaped the very identity of the empire. By choosing Constantinople as a new capital, he created a hub where East met West, commerce flourished, and culture blended in unprecedented ways. The city itself became a testament to the adaptability and enduring spirit of Rome. Imagine the streets filled with traders, soldiers, and citizens alike, all witnessing the birth of a metropolis destined to carry Rome's legacy into the medieval world. Constantine's legacy reverberates through history. By legitimizing Christianity and consolidating imperial power, he transformed Rome into a civilization that could endure long after the Western Empire fell. His decisions shaped law, faith, and culture, leaving a blueprint for leadership that combined vision, strength, and moral influence. Closing summary. From the daring of Hannibal to the political genius of Julius Caesar, the grandeur of Augustus, the extremes of Caligula and Nero, and the philosophical wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, the saga of Roman leadership is a study in ambition, courage, and the complexities of power. Each figure, in their triumphs and failures, reveals the fragile balance between destiny and choice, between human desire and the demands of an empire. As we reflect on these leaders, we see the enduring patterns of history, the rise of visionaries, the seduction of absolute power, the consequences of ambition, and the ways in which a single individual can shape the fate of nations. The legacy of Rome is not merely in its monuments, laws, or conquests, but in the stories of those who dared to lead, leaving echoes that still resonate in our world today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you made it this far, you're the reason we keep going. Please subscribe and help us continue sharing these stories with the world.